Hi everybody, Lynette, Cheaply Chic, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to share a process video with you where I'm creating a fun interactive pocket that I've been enjoying using in my journals lately. So I'm just going to jump into the video. You'll see here that I've grabbed a couple different digital prints that I have. I think both of them may be Amity Bloom. One may be TaylorMade journals, but if I can, I will try to link in the description box down below for those. They're beautiful. I love using them. And I want to use a piece of vintage sheet music. You'll notice the first thing I'm doing is measuring my journal page. I do want this to take up the majority of my page. I want it to be the main element. So this is going to vary from journal to journal and whatever project you are working in. So just measure how much of the page you want it to take up. I would probably left about 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch on the sides of the pocket. Now the first piece that I'm cutting here is going to be the bottom of the pocket. So you can see here how much page this is taking up. Now I'm going to cut what is going to be the very top of the pocket, and I'm carefully selecting which area of the music I want to use. I do want the title. I enjoy the fonts, the different fonts and sizes with the music staff and the music notes. So that is the area that I want to use on the top of my pocket. This is going to be the top, the very top portion, the flip of the pocket, and the bottom portion of the pocket. Again, this is going to vary from pocket to pocket depending on your title, but I did make sure to cut off a little bit from each side. You'll notice here this song is called Because, and I left the entire title on the bottom portion of the pocket. I have made this pocket before with a longer title, and I've just cut in between the words, leaving the majority of the words on the bottom since that is the bigger portion of the top layer, and then maybe a word or two on the top flip of the pocket. So this is going to vary greatly depending on your preference and what it is you're working on specifically. So you can see here that I'm laying my pocket out. Now I'm going to work on the piece that I want on the inside flip of my pocket. This is going to be on the opposite side of the music paper. You could just use the music paper, but I enjoy the different color combinations, the different fonts. So this is a really pretty piece of digital paper from Ruby and Pearl XO. Yes. And I'm going to use that on the back side. I really like that pale white and that black print against that wallpaper print that I'm using on the, the bottom half of the pocket. So I'm just going through and adding some ink, inking it all up. Now you'll see that I'm gluing that script paper to the back side of my music paper flip. If you want to sew this, be careful with your glue. I am not sewing in this video just to save time and just to show you how to make the pocket, but I have done this before where I have taken this flip and I've taken it over to the sewing machine and just stitched around the top side to give it a little more texture. It's easier to do before we add our fabric hinge to the pocket. So now I'm taking some scrap fabric that I have in my stash, and I'm going to use that as a hinge for the flip and the back side of the pocket. I really, again, like that texture. I like that torn edge, but I do need my scrap to be a little thinner so it doesn't cover up too much. So this is just a fun little piece of linen that I have that's in an ivory shade that kind of goes along with the colors in the music paper. And here I'm just going to use that fabric to adhere the top portion of the flip. And I'm just gluing half of it to that bottom paper, and I'm going to glue the other half to the top portion. And this will make a really nice fabric flip. I'm sure you noticed for my personal preference, I decided to cut those little pieces of fabric that were popping off the ends of my pocket just because I want this to be a very clean looking pocket when I'm finished. That, of course, is my own personal preference. You can do it however you would like to do it. So here I'm just using that paper, the piece of digital that I used on the background of the pocket. You'll only see that background when you open the pocket. That's the piece I'm using. And I just wanted to cut a little scrap piece to add a little more visual interest to the pocket after you open it and to tie the flip together with the bottom portion. So I cut that probably about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to just glue it there to the top of my inside flip. Now I'm just showing you some different options that you can use for the paper hinge that I will be using on the front of this pocket. I like this as a closure. I think it's fun. It adds a fun little element, interactive element. This is what I used. I have this stitched oval die. I cut out some coffee dyed paper, and because it was so thin, I've decided to layer a couple different pieces together. I'm going to add a stamp to the front of it, and then I'm going to glue those papers together. That's going to be my hinge. If you don't have this, I will leave a link to this in the description box down below because I typically get asked about that for things that I'm using. And I just love the way that Tim Holtz stamp fits on there. So that's my favorite thing to do right now. You could use a punch that you have in your stash. You could use a ticket, anything that's big enough to attach to the bottom portion of your pocket, but also keep that top closure closed. I'm sure there's so many different options here, but this is what I have been loving lately. Now I'm just eyeballing exactly where I want to add that closure to the center of my envelope. This is why you don't want to attach the bottom portion of that pocket just yet. If you wanted to add machine stitching to that before we end up gluing it down, this would be a great time to do it, but it's a lot easier to add the brad that we're going to use to attach this before it's attached to the back side of your pocket, if you know what I mean. So here I'm just messing around with this. Because my glue's wet, my awl does not want to go through that. And now I have a bent little hinge, but that's okay. It's fine, right? So I just used my little hole punch. I'm deciding to use a little gold brad that I have, and I'm going to attach my little closure piece to the front of my pocket. And now that we're coming to the end of our project, I am going to attach that bottom portion of the pocket to the base. And here you can see how that pocket functions. I forgot to ink up my little closure that I have at the front of my pocket, but that's okay. I decided that I want to add a little more visual interest to my pocket. I have this vintage paper. I don't know what this is called exactly, but I'm going to use it as washi tape basically across the back side of my pocket just to add a little more texture. I like the numbers and I like the color. So now that my pocket is done, I'm just going to add it inside my journal. You could create hidden tuck spots at this time. You don't have to glue the whole thing down, but I decided that I want to this time. For any of you who might be curious, the journal that I'm working in is available in my Etsy shop. I have some blank journals, and this really pretty blue along with a pink one is available over there. So I'll leave my link in the description box down below if you're interested. They're a fun size and I love using them for my own personal journals. And there it is. There's our finished pocket. I am going to show you some other pockets that I created in this same style. Here's one that had a longer title, like I mentioned earlier, where I cut between the words and I've machine stitched around those upper flaps and lower flaps. Here's one where the title is completely on the bottom and I used a digital for the upper flip. So there's a lot of different ways to mix this up and to do it however you feel like creating. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.